Welcome back again. Now we were going to study the last but not the least the series of structures which are passing through the foramen magnum. So the structures which we are now interested in are, we have first said that you have the odontoid process of the axis over here. From the tip of the odontoid process of this is you have what we call the ligament. So the apical ligament from the tip of the odontoid process of the axis passes up through the foramen magnum and it is attached to the basilar part of the occipital bone over here. Beyond the apical part of the apical ligament, we have said that the odontoid process is held in place by the transverse ligament of the atlas. Now this transverse ligament is part of a cruciate structure of ligament. It has a transverse band, it has a descending band, it has an ascending band. So this ascending band of this transverse ligament, which is also called the superior crus of the cruciate ligament, this covers up the apical ligament, and this also passes up through the foramen magnum and drops down into the basilar part of the occipital bone. Not only that, from behind the body of the axis you have the posterior longitudinal ligament. You remember that the vertebral column has got an anterior longitudinal ligament and it also has a posterior longitudinal ligament. Now the anterior longitudinal ligament ends upward as the anterior atlanto-occipital membrane, which is attached to the anterior margin of this foramen magnum. But the posterior longitudinal ligament does not form the posterior atlanto-occipital membrane. Rather, the posterior atlanto-occipital membrane that you have over here, this posterior atlanto-occipital membrane may be considered to be an upward continuation of the ligamentum flavum rather than the posterior longitudinal ligament. So the posterior longitudinal ligament that comes up from the body of the axis is actually continuous as a membrane called the membrana tectoria. So the membrana tectoria is a membrane derived from the posterior longitudinal ligament. So behind all this you have the membrana tectoria that is rising up. And that is the third structure. So apical ligament, superior crus of cruciate ligament and membrana tectoria, they are all arising from the spine and they are rising up through the foramen magnum and then they are dropping down onto the basilar part of the occipital bone, that is to part of the clevus adjacent to the foramen magnum. So these are also structures which you have to remember when you start listing the structures passing through the foramen magnum. And now that we have got this thing out of the way, we can focus on the rest of the posterior cranial fossa. Coming back to the midline, you can see the posterior clinoid process, the dorsum sellae. And you already know that from the posterior clinoid process to the anterior clinoid process you have the interclinoid ligament, and from this petrosal process on the posterior just beyond on the dorsum sellae to the apex of the petrous temporal you have the petrosphenoid ligament. So this is the petrosphenoid ligament and this is the petrosal process. So from the dorsum sellae you have a petrosal process, and from the petrosal surface to the apex of the petrous temporal you have a petrosphenoid ligament, and underneath the petrosphenoid ligament is passing the abducent nerve. This much you already know. Now if we come to this petrous part of the temporal bone, this petrous part of the temporal bone in the posterior cranial fossa is actually posterior surface. So the posterior surface of the petrous part of the temporal bone, the most conspicuous feature here is the internal auditory meatus. So this opening over here is the internal auditory meatus. Now through this internal auditory meatus the structures passing are the vestibulocochlear nerve and the facial nerve, that is the motor root of the facial nerve, the nervus intermedius. These two are parts of the facial nerve, and in the vestibulocochlear nerve you have the vestibular division and the cochlear division. So these are all structures passing through the internal auditory meatus. Apart from that, you have the labyrinthine artery and veins, that is the main blood supply of the internal ear. So these are the things which pass through this internal auditory meatus over here. Now when these structures are passing through the internal auditory meatus, when they reach the inner ear, they are confronted by a vertical partition, and in that vertical partition you have a transverse crest, and these structures that are passing through the internal auditory meatus pierce this vertical partition above and below the transverse crest in different positions. So if we look inside the internal auditory meatus, and if we come to that partition, this vertical, so suppose you are looking into the internal auditory meatus and you can see this big partition. You have reached this big partition, and this big partition is separated by a crest into an upper and a lower segments. And now you have to distribute the structures that you have passed through the internal auditory meatus through this bony vertical partition and enter the middle ear. So the cavities are in front over here. You have the opening for the facial nerve. So this is the opening for the facial nerve, and below here this is the opening for the cochlear nerve. So the cochlear nerve opening is in the form of a perforated sieve. So just like the cribriform plate, you have a perforated sieve like area on this anterior part below, and this is called tractus spiralis foraminosa. So you have a spiral perforated sieve like structure over here through which the filaments of the cochlear nerve are going to enter, or rather, because it's a sensory nerve, we will say nerve of special sense, we say the filaments of the cochlear nerve are leaving the internal ear and coming into the vestibulocochlear nerve. So above here you have the opening for the facial nerve in front. Here through the spiral tract you have the opening for the cochlear nerve here. Posteriorly in the upper segment you have the opening for the upper segment of the vestibular nerve. This upper segment of the vestibular nerve, it will supply the utricle and the superior and semicircular canal. So the utricle and superior semicircular canal, that will be supplied by the superior vestibular division. So superior as well as lateral semicircular canals. So this superior division of the vestibular nerve will supply the superior semicircular canal, it will supply the lateral semicircular canal, and it will supply the utricle. So the nerves for these three structures will pass through this portion here on the posterior aspect of the upper segment. Now on the posterior aspect of the lower segment you have the inferior division of the vestibular nerve, and this inferior division of the vestibular nerve is meant to supply the saccule. So utricle, superior semicircular canal and lateral semicircular canal above here, the saccule below over here, and you are left with the posterior semicircular canal. The posterior semicircular canal is supplied through by a patch over here. Posteriorly you have a singular foramen, a single foramen, that is called foramen singulare, and this through this singular foramen or this single isolated foramen you have nerve fibers from the posterior semicircular canal. So superior and lateral semicircular canals over here, utricle over here, saccule over here, posterior semicircular canal over here, facial nerve over here, cochlear nerve over here. So this is the pattern through which the structures passing through the internal auditory meatus actually enter the inner ear. Now we are left with the rest of this posterior surface of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Now just behind the internal auditory meatus you have a small depression which is called the subarcuate fossa. Actually above here you have the arcuate eminence. So you have the arcuate eminence here and you have the subarcuate fossa over here. So you have the subarcuate fossa over here.